The inheritance we never asked for, how parental wounds shape our adult lives. Welcome to the revolution of self understanding. Today, I want to take you on a journey that may feel uncomfortable at times, but I promise will illuminate corners of your life you've been struggling to make sense of for years. I'm honored to share insights from my profound conversation with Jarissa Moody, a visionary healer whose work on parental wounds has transformed thousands of lives. Jerisa isn't just a therapist, she's a revolutionary who has created a framework for understanding how childhood experiences echo through our adult lives, particularly for Black women navigating generational trauma. Her compassionate approach has created ripples of healing across communities historically told to just be strong rather than to be whole. Have you ever noticed yourself repeating the same relationship patterns? Or perhaps working yourself to exhaustion for approval that never comes? Maybe you've achieved everything on your life's checklist, yet still feel like an imposter waiting to be exposed? I used to think these patterns were just bad luck or poor judgment. But what if they're actually echoes of something much deeper? Something that began long before we had words to describe it. The truth that changed everything for me, that Jerisa Moody illuminated with such clarity, is that we're all walking around with an invisible inheritance, not money, not property, but wounds, parental wounds that silently direct how we show up in every relationship we'll ever have. These wounds aren't just sad childhood memories we need to get over. They're active blueprints operating beneath our conscious awareness, influencing how we love, work, parent, befriend, and most importantly, how we treat ourselves. When a mother cannot truly see her child, that child grows up unable to see herself clearly. When a father is emotionally or physically absent, that child learns the world is fundamentally unsafe. These aren't just unfortunate circumstances, they're operating systems installed without our consent. Let me share a story that illustrates this with heartbreaking clarity. Jerisa told me about a brilliant Black woman, academically accomplished, professionally admired, who kept sabotaging every close relationship that entered her life. On paper, she had everything. In reality, she carried a wound that whispered constantly, "You don't deserve love." Her mother, carrying her own unprocessed grief, had been emotionally absent during those critical, formative years. No comfort when she cried, no celebration when she succeeded, just distance. Cold mother syndrome, as Jerisa explained, doesn't require abuse to cause lasting damage. Sometimes the absence of warmth is enough to create a lifetime of doubt. This woman developed what therapists call an anxious avoidant attachment style, desperately wanting connection while simultaneously pushing it away. I see those nodding heads. This resonates, doesn't it? But here's where her story transforms. She didn't accept this as her destiny. Through therapy focused specifically on attachment theory, through finding surrogate maternal figures and support groups, she began the slow, unglamorous work of rewiring her internal beliefs. Today, she mentors young girls in foster care, showing them what she had to learn the hard way, that your worth isn't determined by who failed to love you properly. Her advocacy has even changed how local agencies approach trauma informed care for foster youth. One wound, when acknowledged and tended to, created healing for an entire community. This is what Jerisa Moody means when she says these wounds echo beyond our individual lives. But let's be honest about something rarely discussed. Healing isn't pretty. It's not a beautiful Instagram post with the perfect filter and inspirational quote. Real healing is messy, it's lonely, is work that often only you can see. As Jerisa shared with me, self love isn't just about affirmations in the mirror or buying yourself flowers, though those things are nice. True self love is about facing hard truths, setting boundaries with family members who've never heard the word no from you before, choosing yourself when absolutely no one else will. And sometimes the hardest part, recognizing that the people who wounded you were themselves wounded children once, not to excuse their behavior, but to understand the cycle you're breaking. Another powerful story Jerisa shared involved a network of successful Black female professionals who, despite their impressive careers, struggled with deep trust issues. These women found themselves either fiercely independent, I don't need anybody, or constantly waiting for betrayal from other women. The common thread, complicated, often toxic relationships with their mothers. Many had grown up with mothers who competed with them, criticized them, or simply couldn't celebrate their daughters' achievements because they'd never been allowed to shine themselves. The blueprint these women inherited taught them that female relationships were battlegrounds, not sanctuaries. What's fascinating is how they addressed this collectively. Instead of accepting these dynamics as just how women are, they brought in therapists specializing in intergenerational trauma. They created workshops specifically focused on identifying how their mother wounds were showing up in their professional relationships. The transformation wasn't overnight, but it was profound. Some women repaired long estranged relationships with their mothers. Others redefined what family meant by creating chosen bonds of sisterhood based on health, not history. Most powerfully, they launched a mentorship program pairing seasoned professionals who'd done their inner healing work with younger women navigating similar challenges. Their model has inspired similar groups nationwide focus on empowering Black women through collective healing rather than competition. This is how we turn wounds into wisdom. This is how we transform inheritance into innovation. But these wounds don't discriminate by gender. Men carry mother wounds too, often silently, with fewer cultural spaces to process them. Jerisa shared the story of two young Black men who met during college orientation. Both came from backgrounds marked by emotionally unavailable mothers, one due to economic hardship, the other to incarceration. They quickly bonded over this shared pain, finding in each other the understanding they'd always craved. But here's the complicated part. Their mutual mother wound created a friendship based on trauma bonding. They enabled each other's avoidance behaviors, substance use, academic disengagement, isolation, instead of encouraging growth. Their connection, while comforting, kept them stuck in old patterns. The turning point came when they attended campus counseling sessions discussing the impact of parental loss and neglect. For the first time, they had language for what they were experiencing. They began to consciously set healthier expectations for their friendship, including accountability check ins rather than enabling old coping mechanisms. Both went on to achieve academic milestones they had previously thought impossible. They credit those honest conversations about maternal pain as pivotal turning points towards self reliance rather than continued codependency. Most remarkably, they co founded a student led support group specifically addressing male mental health through the lens of familial wounding, a first at their HBCU campus. Their initiative sparked broader dialogue around masculinity, vulnerability, and breaking cycles within communities historically taught never to discuss such pain openly. This is what healing looks like when men are brave enough to name their wounds too. So, where does this leave us? With awareness, yes. But awareness without action is just, well, sad knowledge. Jerissa Moody offers us this challenge. Choose one area where you notice your parents' influence showing up negatively in your relationships at home or work, and commit this week to setting one small boundary that prioritizes your well being over old loyalty patterns. Document what feelings arise: guilt, fear, relief. These emotions are signposts showing you where the wound still needs tending. The journey to reclaiming your authentic self requires this kind of honest inventory because you cannot drop a cape you don't realize you're wearing. You cannot heal a wound you refuse to name. For those who've spent decades in strong mode, particularly Black women taught to prioritize everyone else's needs, this work isn't just personal healing, it's ancestral liberation. When Jerisa speaks about mother wounds and father wounds, she's really talking about permission. Permission to acknowledge that even good parents leave marks. Permission to examine how those marks shape our adult choices. Permission to choose differently, even when it feels like betrayal to the family script. I want to leave you with this: the inheritance we never asked for, these parental wounds, doesn't have to determine our destiny. We can acknowledge it, learn from it, and then with tremendous courage, choose a different path. Today, I challenge you to begin this journey. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, but now. Identify one relationship where you see the echoes of your parental wounds. Have the conversation you've been avoiding with a friend, a therapist, or even with yourself in a journal. Name the pattern, honor the pain, and then make one small choice that breaks the cycle. Because when we heal ourselves, we heal generations before and after us. When we put down the weight of wounds we didn't create, but have carried nonetheless, we free not just ourselves, but everyone in our orbit. This is not just personal work. This is revolutionary work. This is how we transform pain into purpose, wounds into wisdom, and inheritance into innovation. The greatest act of courage isn't facing an external enemy, it's facing the patterns within us that no longer serve us. It's time to claim your birthright of wholeness, not despite your wounds, but through them. Thank you.